I don't know how it started, I don't know what you did. Now I'm the gal that's chasing you up and flip my lid. Come here, eager beaver, baby.
Hello and welcome to
Was That an Orgy? Woo!
starring Charlene and Teresa Bawd, two sisters that explore the topics of sex, sexuality, gender, and sex positivity. We will also try to answer the question, was that an orgy?
Yeah, stick to that.
Oh, okay. That's a good way to start the show.
It's perfect after my ayahuasca journey.
Hi, everybody. This is a glimpse into the inside of Teresa's mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I can smell your cunt.
Everything is possible and plausible. Yes.
Oh my gosh. This is a great way to start a show.
Yeah.
Everyone, we are here with our lovely dirty Uncle Tito today.
Oh, yeah.
Dirty Uncle Tito's in the house.
We're all multifaceted, right?
That's right. Yes, it's so true. Let's not talk about our genitals right now. Though.
Yeah, they
Well,
are
'cause I will.
multifaceted.
Because you will. You're going to tell us some dirty Uncle Tito stories,
Dirty.
aren't
We're
you?
so excited.
Yeah. Yeah. He's wearing his OBGYN gloves just to get into character with his
that's
ascot.
right.
If you
Yep.
can't,
Yeah.
for those who can't see him, black OBGYN gloves and a black ascot matching ascot.
Yeah.
I'm so
Making it good.
nice of you to color coordinate the.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
you gotta dial things up just a little bit. Have
Yeah.
a little bit of a sense of style, a bit of attentiveness. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's attentiveness.
It is.
Yes.
Attention to detail.
Yes.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is that you guys asked me to read erotica, and that seems to be one of the key elements that exists inside of erotica.
Your fingers?
Oh.
No, your fingers exist inside of multiple orifices inside of the erotica.
Yeah, mine do.
Yeah, right now.
When-
Sure. Hands on the table.
hands on, hands
Yeah.
on, hands on.
I'm sorry.
And inside of erotica, there's so many details that show up
Mhm.
inside of not just like, oh, her crimson dress or the lace on the edges of her brassiere. And even more so, I think, and this is perhaps why women read erotica so much more than men, and there's
Mhm.
a deficit there that really needs to be corrected,
Mhm.
is the emotions that go back and forth. The
Right.
ocean of emotions and
Yeah.
the desire and the dominance and the submission. And I actually
Mhm.
do have a excerpt from the story of O also.
Mm.
And I don't know if you guys know about this book. No?
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. But
Well, it's a classic, and it
Yeah.
came out in 1955.
mhm.
It was published, and it blew the screens off everything that was happening at the time, 1955. And then there's a story of dominance, submission, ownership, and slave,
Mhm.
and the whole BDSM thing, which was basically hidden inside of all of these really crazy situations. But
Nice.
yes,
Yeah.
and
Awesome.
it's kind of awesome. And like just back in the days of what was it, Kinsey?
Uh-huh.
Right, and learning that I don't know if you knew this or not, but women used to be treated for hysteria.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Yes.
I mean, what?
Hence the origin of the vibrator, because doctors were getting carpal tunnel syndrome from whacking off their. They really were.
Oh my
Yeah,
God! Wow.
they literally were, just because, of course, like once the word spread,
Mhm.
then all the ladies came in and the legs started spreading, and they were like, "Yeah, I've got hysteria too."
My
Lines out the
uterus is
door.
wandering. Can
Yeah.
you bring it back?
Yeah, exactly.
I just can't seem to focus. Would you help me, please?
Focus.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Focus. Yes.
Right.
Then you will be what you call it?
A liberated
You will
woman.
be
You're
a liberated
liberated.
woman.
I'm a liberated woman.
Yes. So
Yeah.
inside
Yeah.
of this erotica thing is this wonderful liberation that can occur.
Mhm.
And what I really enjoy, and there's a difference between erotica and porn. Like Xavier, like we all grew up trying to find we found the magazines in the basement or the garage, right?
yeah.
I'll say we did.
Yep.
Yeah,
mhm.
boy, did we.
And do you remember Xaviera Hollander?
No.
No.
Xaviera Hollander and the Penthouse Forum. were
Okay.
the story. Oh, were
I
you?
remember
Were you
the
just
articles
looking at the
for 'em.
pictures?
We was just looking at the pictures
Well,
all stuck
because
together.
Playboy had articles too.
I read the
That's what
stories.
our
I
dad-
read
You
the
did the
sexy
you read the
stories?
stories?
Yeah,
Okay, so
totally.
I read the
Yeah.
stories too, and I was like, but the stories seem to end up this stuff of like pound and pound and
Yeah.
get out, and like
Yeah.
they're talking about this conquering kind of perspective, and I see so many men, or I'm hearing stories of men as like it's a conquest, and they don't pay attention to the details, and there's so much inside of good eroticism that gets on those details. So I think if men started reading erotica a little bit more, they might get a little bit more further, easier, and like inside of the consent thing
Yeah.
would work,
Yeah, right.
right? Because y'all are paying all so much is going through your minds as you're going through that sensual, sexual, the elevation, the foreplay, all that stuff. And in this, there's in the difference between porn and erotica.
Yeah.
And it's kind of wild. Not only that, hey, and let's chuck another thing into the pot in America.
Yeah.
The masculine suppression of emotions, tenderness, intimacy, and like, do you ever fuck somebody and never look at them in the face, look them in the eyes? It's kind of weird. And a lot of men do that because they don't, they're like, I'm my deep,
no eye contact.
No eye contact. No, it's fine.
Like
turn her around, turn her around. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
And performance.
No, and it's performance based.
Performance, totally. Instead of connection based.
And do they even realize that there's there's just a few snazzy little things that you can do as a man to increase her potency and availability? And it's through that aspect of erotica.
Right.
It's kind of awesome.
Creating seduction, creating opportunities for consent, creating opportunities for her to buy into the process instead of being performed to or on.
Right.
It's a consensual, co-creative seduction.
And that's perfect because that brings me to my first reading.
Oh, yeah. Go, Uncle Tito. Titillate us, Tito.
Well, there is this book
My tits are lated.
Yes, it's titillated, and you will become lubricated.
Today's word is lubricated.
Today's word is lubricated. You know this book, The Prophet, right?
Yes.
So in The Prophet, there's always that one of eat bread, but not from the same loaf, and yada yada. There's a classic one that's been used in a whole lot of weddings, but this one is about pleasure.
Ew.
And
Khalil.
yes, and a hermit who visited the city once a year came forth and said, "Speak to us of pleasure." And he answered, saying, "Pleasure is a freedom song, but it is not freedom. It is the blossoming of your desires, but it is not their fruit. It is a depth calling unto height, but it is not the deep nor the high. It is the caged taking wing, but it is not space encompassed. In very truth, pleasure is a freedom song, and I fain I would have you sing it with the fullness of heart, and yet I would not have you lose your hearts in the singing." So there's that thing of that interdependence at the same time, but like
and the movement of from one state into another. So it's not when you're caged and it's not when you're entirely free, but it's that moment of eruption.
Yes,
shall we say?
Yes, that.
And sometimes isn't it like, we were just talking earlier about how I just came back from that ayahuasca journey,
right?
And my erotic explosion, and some of it too is just sitting in the delicious tension. Instead of like, oh, I have to have the explosion, I have to have the culmination. Sometimes if you can just sit in the delicious tension and feel the life in that.
There is my species being men, we have zero recognition or training around like, well, can we just kind of there's been times when I've been with a woman and she's just and like everything just freezes, just hold still. Just be inside of that.
No pun intended.
And now you ask in your heart, how shall we distinguish which is good in pleasure from that which is not good? Go to your fields and your gardens, and you shall learn that it is the pleasure of the bee to gather honey of the flower. But it is also the pleasure of the flower to yield its honey to the bee. For the bee, a flower is a fountain of life, and the flower And to the flower, a bee is a messenger of love.
Is this supposed to be symbolic of anything?
I usually pistils and all that. Mhm.
Flowers,
Stamen.
bees, and honey.
And to both bee and flower, the giving and the receiving of pleasure is a need and an ecstasy.
Oh,
Yes.
that's hot.
Right?
Khalil.
At the
I
same
love
time that you're looking at a
speak it.
super spiritual experience, you're like, oh, I can have yes and,
Yes, it's so true.
right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Totally a
God.
yes and.
That's
Yeah.
good.
And like and that's one of the things that keeps on showing up as I go further and further. I'm working on a project called Hands-Free Erotica, which is going to be subscription-based audio. Yeah, hands-free. So I don't have to hold the book while I'm
Oh, I see.
rubbing one out, right?
That's good.
Yes,
Love it,
it's
love it, love it.
kind of
So-
awesome.
Wait, are you recording erotica then? Is that what you just said?
I'm about to start in on a project that does that. Yes.
That's gonna
Very
be so
nice.
Yes.
good.
Mhm.
Lovely.
So there'll be
Mhm.
some licensing. So if you know any good writers that are going to be doing that,
Oh, we did challenge our listening audience to like write in some of their own stuff.
Oh, for
that
crap's sake. I
know
forgot
that-
to check the email.
Yeah. Oh, for
God.
crap's sake. Yeah, but like we threatened that if people like sent in their erotic stories or fantasies that we'd publish our Was That an Orgy
Yeah.
book.
oh,
Yeah.
So
Well,
we'll let
great.
you know if we
Yeah.
get it.
yeah. If you want to do an audio,
what
if
we
you want to
get.
do an audio version of it,
There
yeah,
you
that's-
go.
Absolutely.
Dirty Uncle Tito, you're
Yay!
hired.
I'd love to join your pussy posse.
Yeah.
Yes, can we do that?
Yeah, you can be the penis in our pussy pussy.
Yeah, I'll be
Penis
the
in the pussy
penis and the
pussy.
penis. I'll be sure to shower before and after.
You'll have to.
So-
Because remember, we're liberated.
Yeah,
we
we're
are liberated,
Good
yes,
callback.
and I will be as well. Mhm. So if you don't know Pablo Neruda,
Mm-hmm.
a poet from Brazil, Argentina, he did a whole bunch of love sonnets, and this is number 12.
Mm.
Full woman, fleshy apple, hot moon. Thick smell of seaweed, crushed mud and light. What obscure brilliance opens between your columns? What ancient night does a man touch with his senses? Loving is a journey with water and with stars, with smothered air and abrupt storms of flower. Loving is a clash of lightning bolts and two bodies defeated by a single drop of honey.
Mm.
Kiss by kiss, I move across your small infinity, your borders, your rivers, your tiny villages, and the genital fire transformed into delight. Runs through the narrow pathways of the blood until it plunges down like a dark carnation, until it is no more than a flash in the night.
Wow.
And he drops the mic. And
Boom.
we all have a flatulent seizure on the ground.
Neruda's pretty hot.
Yeah,
like
it
that.
is.
Yeah.
So
I gotta say, I was like more turned on until he said genital fire, and then I was like,
oh, that's because it's a translation,
ah,
right?
right.
So
Gotcha,
if
okay.
you read it in the original Portuguese,
yeah,
then it would whoever it was,
Yeah.
because you get you're all like, I'm caught up in all this symbolism,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
it says genital.
Yeah,
And
right.
you're like,
genital
That's,
fire.
yeah, genital fire. My genitals are on fire.
Am I supposed to use it?
That's
Am I
happened to me
supposed to
before.
measure this
Yeah.
somehow? What?
I have caught my genitals on fire.
Did you
before.
know?
Yes,
Yep.
yes. I think I told that story on another
you
episode,
did,
but
you did tell it on the show.
it seemed like a good idea at the time. But yeah, that's probably one of the most challenging aspects of translating poetry is
Yeah.
that most translators, are not also poets.
Right.
Yes,
Hence the
Mhm.
translation of genital fire.
that's where transcreation has to come in. So there is
Fail.
something now called transcreation, which is going for the intent of it and maybe not doing a one-for-one translation, but you're capturing the entire intent of it. And so
Right.
like the word choice might have been different, but it would have probably been a little sexier.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly. Maybe, for
Mhm.
people that are translating poetry, just like keep a poet on hand on speed dial, and just be like, wow, what's another, or open a thesaurus. Maybe we need to have like an erotic thesaurus invented out there.
Ooh, I wouldn't be surprised
Erotic
if there wasn't one. There
thesaurus.
should be. At the very least.
Exactly. Yeah. Something between Webster's and the Urban Dictionary,
Yeah.
That'd be a dirty
I
fucking
certainly
book.
hope so, because the Urban Dictionary is just gnarly.
Nasty.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Oh, yeah. Just, it hurts.
Mm.
Hurts to read those definitions.
Well, one of the interesting things that I bring up as a result of that is that there's a difference in erotica, right? Like
Uh-huh.
if you've read, like we were talking about the Penthouse Forum and Xavier Hollander, that's porn, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
And then you've got the erotica, but then there's also different voices that show up inside of erotica. Like one of the things I was like, okay, can I read as a male from the perspective of a female?
Mhm.
And does that work, or am I limiting myself only to omniscient or to male characters?
Right.
That can be a kind of a thing.
Yeah. It's so much, of course, like, when you're just reading it inside your own head, you can make up the perfect voices.
Mhm.
And that's the hardest part I'm finding about, like, I listened to a bunch of erotica for our last podcast last week. And boy, it's really tough because the voice, if it's not like the one in your head, it can really ruin it for you. It
It
can
can be
ruin
grating,
good
yeah.
erotica.
Yeah.
Just
Mhm.
like hypnotherapy. We've talked about hypnotherapy. And the people that do hypnotherapy, you're feeling very sleepy. This is the person that talks like this. I want you to take
those
a nice
bother the
deep
half
breath.
fuck out of me.
Uh-huh.
Being a
Why? Does it make
hypnotist
you
myself-
horny?
Well, no, when their voice is too smooth.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like I've listened to some of the erotic, like
in
like,
erotica.
like
Okay.
erotic
Oh.
hypnosis, and they'll
Yeah.
put some kind of reverb or something in the
Erotic
background or echo.
hypnosis? I've never heard erotic hypnosis.
You've never heard of erotic hypnosis?
No.
We heard of it
Oh,
now.
oh,
Guess
boy.
what we're doing
We're
later.
just gonna have to. I'll just have to come back for an erotic hypnosis
Yeah.
episode.
Oh, fuck yeah. That's a
Mhm.
great idea.
Yeah,
You just lay me on
absolutely.
the table here and, I'll have
I'll make you twitch in all kinds of ways just by
yeah,
touching your
a
elbow.
second coming of my ayahuasca erotic
Yeah.
breakthrough.
Mhm.
Pun intended. We'll get like, a shower screen for, so we don't squirt on all the cameras. Yeah,
Yes, don't squirt.
Don't squirt on the electrical
Don't squirt on
gear.
the
Yeah.
gear, y'all.
Expensive
Don't
gear here.
scrote- Don't scrote on the gear.
Don't do that either.
Don't
balls
scrote
are
on the-
sticking out that stuff, too.
Uncle Tito, no teabagging the microphones. Please. Zip it
Yeah,
up. Zip it
Everybody just hears this kind of like
up. Tap.
Tap, tap.
gentle.
Yeah.
Gentle
Hairs
flopping.
brushing across.
Oh man. So do you remember when the Tea Party movement was first called the Tea Baggers?
Totally.
Yes.
Totally
I will
remember
never
that.
forget the look on Rachel Maddow's face when she sat there and was talking about the tea baggers, and she would look up and she would smirk, and then she'd drop the smirk, and then tea baggers.
Yeah.
And that was the first broadcast that she did on that, and it took them like 10 or 12 months to stop
Yeah.
calling themselves tea baggers
I
because
know.
no one did their homework.
I love
Nope.
it. I love it.
I do love
That's
that.
so great.
Yeah.
You know what I love about that? It's such just desserts because probably those are the kind of fucktards that like hold the signs of like God hates fags, and it's like, yeah, call yourselves tea baggers.
Yeah,
Right,
you
and
fuckers.
misspelling the words on your signs. It's
Yeah.
just not fun.
It's
so
awesome.
silly.
All right, give it to us smooth. Like
Give it to
diarrhea.
us, Uncle Tito.
Smooth. So yeah, there's and also not only is there the voice, but there's also how it's thrown out there. Because
Mhm.
this is one of the things I do with my voice work is how does because I can hear the voice of the writer coming out.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And speaking of which, if you want to read an amazing book about erotica, and it's based on a true story, actually. Paul Coelho wrote a book called 11 Minutes. And it's from the voice of a woman, but it's written by a man. And there's a section at the end of each chapter, which is going like in a journey, a journal inside of her own mind. And damn it, if the man doesn't just nail it straight down. And I got this whole new understanding of the feminine as a result of reading that.
Pardon
Wow.
my post ayahuasca,
Yeah.
2 or 3 hours of sleep
Mhm.
deficit here. But did you say that it's a book written from a female perspective by a man, narrated by a woman?
No, it's omniscient.
Oh, okay.
But at the end of every chapter is her diary, is the version.
Okay.
And
I'd
Paul
be
Coelho
curious
was
to read that.
yeah, he wrote
Yeah.
he was the guy that wrote The Alchemist.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
that classic book, and also
Yeah.
The Pilgrimage. And it's called 11 Minutes.
Okay. All right.
So good.
I read
like
it. It's super hot.
Uh-oh, clean up on aisle Tito.
And this is super hot. Also, it's the story of O. Which was the
Go on.
There was Pauline Reyrage. They had to do nom de plumes back in the 50s and stuff, it was it goes into the whole thing of dominance and submission, and into slave and ownership and service. And she heard him open the door and cross the room. He remained for some time with his back to the fire, studying O. Then, in a near whisper, he told her to get up and then sit back down. Surprised, almost embarrassed, she obeyed. He courteously brought a glass of whiskey and a cigarette, both of which she refused. She saw that he was in a dressing gown, a very conservative dressing gown, gray, homespun, a gray that matched his hair. His hands were long and dry, and his flat fingernails, cut short, were very white. This is where that descriptive, like there's these details that shows up in erotica, which is so like you drop in and it's, yeah. I mean, that's where so much of the heat inside of the feminine mind can be, lubricated,
Totally.
lubricated and lubricated.
Creating the details of the scenery and the intricacy of feeling.
Yeah.
I'd like you to get completely undressed, he said. But first, simply undo your jacket without getting up. O unhooked the large gold hooks and slipped her close-fitting jacket down over her shoulders. When she put it at the other end of the sofa, where her fur, her gloves, and her bag were. Caress the tips of your breasts, ever so lightly. You must use a darker rouge. Yours is too light. Taken completely aback, O fondled her nipples with her fingertips and felt them stiffen and rise. She covered them with her palms. Oh, no, Sir Stephen said. She withdrew her hands and lay back against the back of the couch. Her breasts were heavy, for so slender of a torso, and parting rose gently toward her armpits. The nape of her neck was resting against the back of the sofa, and her hands were lying on either side of her hips. Why did Sir Stephen not bend over, bring his mouth close to hers? Did his hands not move toward the nipples, which he had seen stiffen, which she, being absolutely motionless, could feel quiver wherever she took a breath? But he had drawn near and sat down across the arm of the sofa, and was not touching her. He was smoking, and a movement of his hand. O never knew whether or not it was voluntary. She had the feeling he wanted to insult her by his disdain, his silence, by a certain attitude of detachment. Yet he had desired her a while ago, and still did now. She could see it by the tautness and beneath the surface of the material of his dressing gown. There's a rise on the...
He's pitching a tent.
O hated
Ready to
herself
teabag.
for her own desires and loathed Stephen for the self-control he was displaying. She wanted him to love her. There, the truth was out. She wanted him to be chafing under the urge to touch her lips and penetrate her body, to devastate her if he need be, but not to remain calm and so self-possessed.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. And today this sharing derived its meaning from Renee's relation to Sir Stephen, much more than it did from his relation to her. What each of them would look for in her would be the other's mark, the trace of the other's passage. Only a short while before, when she had been kneeling half-naked before Renee, and Sir Stephen had opened her thighs with both hands, Renee had explained to Sir Stephen why O's buttocks were so easily accessible, and why he was pleased that they had been thus prepared. It was because it had occurred to him that Sir Stephen would enjoy having his preferred path constantly at his disposal. He had even added that, if Sir Stephen wished, he would grant him the sole use of it.
Nice.
Right?
So
Yeah.
in this story, is she kind of signing up to be
Is she a whore?
of service? Like,
She is.
okay.
She is a whore.
Right?
I
So
knew it.
she becomes the possession of and the slave to Renee.
Okay.
And then Renee...
Oh, she's a slave.
Yes.
Sex slave.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
And
see.
actually,
I
well,
catch on.
In the modern vernacular, she eventually becomes a collard to him, to Renee, and then Renee gives her to Sir Stephen, And so so it's not just the bang, bump and grind in here, but there's so much more about that relationship and her being in service to each of them. And her, what does it mean to be in that level of depth of service? It's just like, what? It's super hard.
yeah. Well, then I love how they're getting into her mind about like how she knows that he wants to ravage her, and there's this conflict going in her where she's like, well, why isn't he doing it? How can he have so much self-control? Because I know he wants me, and that's like. And so there is like that tension within her where she's like, I know he wants me, but he's not doing it. And how can he control himself? I know I'm hot, you know?
Right? Yes. Yeah. And that keeps on showing up and
intermittent reinforcement.
Yeah, that's it.
Hello. Sorry to always go psychological on you.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes.
Totally. Oh my God. And then you have ones where this one is called The Dress by Michael Hemmingson.
Is this a collection, right?
I'm reading from
stories?
the Mammoth Book of New Erotica.
Mammoth.
So I don't know if you know about the Mammoth series, but there's literally like 50 or 80 books. Not just erotica, but like I actually, when I first started reading Uncle Tito's Goodnightly Tales, was from the Mammoth Book of Pirate Stories.
Ooh, which reminds me,
awesome.
at some point you should like plug where people can find you doing what you do.
I got a YouTube channel, voiced by Tito, and I'm slowly populating that with stories. I've got a project I'm working on, which is going to be 100 Armenian folk tales. So I wanted to read all of those. I've found this collection, which has some of the older versions of some of the classic fairy tales, like Cinderella.
Yeah.
And that's
cool.
and Cinderella, she never actually has a name, but Cinderella is, there's a whole thing because she was always covered in dust and the cinders from being, so it's kind of like
chimneys.
that stuff. So voiced by Tito, and I'll be coming out with a website for my vocal work as well.
Very cool.
Right on.
I love it.
We'll put a link to your YouTube.
Okie dokies.
Yeah.
The dress was but a piece of cloth. After numerous false starts, Ashley and I finally got it together to give the dress a bare-assed inauguration. I almost didn't believe it would happen. Each time I attempted, 3 times had fallen through. I was patient with Ashley's dubiety. It was just before New Year's, and we made up for it, resolving to spend New Year's Eve lounging in our open-air spa. Even under optimal conditions, the picture of a lesser quality than is possible than the other cameras, being auto everything, it's tough to be creative. We're shooting outdoors with minimal and adverse conditions, with no choice of flash or full flash, and no control over the exposure. So these setting up these scenes, and like there's a dress, and then they could take they took the dress out to different events.
Okay.
After squeezing out, and so finally, like now, there's just one. Where's the line? It's oh gosh,
there's such good.
It just keeps getting in there. Oh yes.
No pun intended. Yeah, it's good, useful eroticism. The metaphor of a dress, folds and fabric and drapiness. Labia, just saying.
Labia.
Curtains.
Labia. Yes. My one difference was to allow her to wear the long overcoat for coming and going, with a dress with no underwear. For warmth, and yes, a security blanket, also anticipating she might be sitting with her bare ass on a cold chair in the nightclub. And any woman that's been out dressed with, like, you have like 3 pieces of clothing, right?
Yeah.
The dress and 2 shoes.
Yes.
Right.
I used to run a nightclub, so I saw that shit
Cold.
all the time. So any kind of
assicles.
Yes, assicles. Oh, do you know why women don't ski in skirts?
Why?
Because they'll get chapped lips.
Dirty Uncle Tito.
Oh my God. Susie Chapstick is so different in my mind now.
Yeah, right.
Changed up the whole thing, huh?
Ooh, it's a great feeling.
Oh, it's good.
Oh my God, yes.
So bad it's good.
So bad it's good. Let's see, where's another piece?
More stories, Uncle Tito. More dirty stories.
This one is The Man Who Loved Women.
Oh.
Never seen one of them before.
No.
No,
This is
that
also from
never
the
happens.
anthology.
Ricky uppy.
So this is by Julian Rathbone, and I don't know if Julian is a male or a female. So
That makes it even more fun.
Maybe that's they and them.
Yeah.
It's a they them
Maybe
situation.
gender fluid.
she leant
Not
back,
you.
putting her arms behind her, supporting herself on her hands, turning her feet out beneath her buttocks, spreading her knees, head thrown back, using the slight slope they were on to exaggerate the posture. Her eyes were closed against the sun, a slight smile playing on her young angel lips, with through the tip of her tongue just showed. Like that, her neck arched down to her collarbones as delicate as a bird's, above breasts that were full but taut, pushing towards rosy nipples, puckered up with the slight chill of the air after the warmth of the fine wool of her dress, or with the excitement at being the object of so much adoration. His own tingled in empathy. Beneath her stomach hollowed as she pushed her breasts and pelvis forward with a neat tummy button, a purple shadow in the sunlight. Her mount of Venus was thrust forward and almost up at him between her taut spread thighs.
Uncle Tito.
Hello. Through the triangle of dark red hair, pinker labia peeped and glistened.
Wee.
Perhaps
She has an Elmo crotch too?
she does.
Oh, yay.
Perhaps attracted by her fragrance, a large peacock butterfly fluttered briefly above them and settled on her thigh for a second. See, it's just these little things that
slutterfly.
a little slutterfly did flutter by. Sam came forward on his knees between hers and put his hands high up on her chest, then firmly so as not to tickle in her armpits, which were moist. Details.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I gotta say, there's nothing like the BO of a lover where you're just like,
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
oh man,
Yeah.
and then
Just
it's such a
wanna huff it.
bummer. Yeah, you just want to
Yeah.
huff it, and then there's
Yeah.
sometimes like women that I've been interested in and go out dancing, and then I smell them as they're getting sweaty on the dance floor. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this could never happen.
Yeah. Bummer.
Oh, because
My
you
body
don't-
just said
you don't,
no.
You don't
Yeah.
resonate. Your olfactory senses.
Yeah, I mean
are
that's
first
like
to their-
that's like amygdala stuff.
That's primal
That's
shit.
that's way primal
Well, you
stuff.
know,
Mhm.
I read in Psychology Today a long time ago that women can actually smell a man's immune system through their sweat.
Uh-huh.
So, like, if their immune system isn't, what's the word?
Complementary.
Thank
Yeah.
you. That and your body is saying like, oh no, we have the same genetic weaknesses. We're gonna have shitty offspring. Don't fuck that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that.
Right, that's foundational stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Biological.
That baseline.
I've had that
procreative
happen.
stuff.
Like, one of the hottest boyfriends I ever had, I was like, oh, what is with that BO? It's not like he had bad BO, like it was
Right.
strong,
Mhm.
but his smell made me kind of go, ah,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's a bummer. That is such a
No.
bummer when that happens.
But this isn't. His
Yeah, go
fingers
on.
came down slowly and spread across her breasts, squeezing, then teasing her nipples. He licked the base of her throat, then the cleavage he made by pushing her breasts together. She sighed with satisfaction, and then as he increased pressure just a little, a small giggle bubbled through her lips.
Aw.
Bubbled through her lips.
That's
Aw.
cute.
Isn't that great? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Aw.
I think that's one of the elements that gets in that aspect of description that
Mhm.
that men could get more used to, or could
Right.
get, could get into, because it's not just that recognition. I really appreciate that acknowledgement of tension,
Right.
but then also like noticing those details of it's bubbling up.
Yeah,
kind of
it
thing.
really does create like a little bit of an emotional charge instead of like,
Mhm.
she had big fucking juicy jiggly tits,
Tits, yeah.
like whatever. Maybe that wasn't even so bad, but
Well, no, but, like, yeah, bring
Slash
just
one,
joking.
slash one adjective and then
Yeah.
you're good. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
too much.
Yeah.
Bringing in that aspect of
Mhm.
metaphor, because so much of what men are up to in terms of getting it is
Yeah.
their destiny. We are so trained to be destination oriented, and like to
Right.
smell the flowers as you're driving down the road towards that destination could add some fabulousness to the process.
Yeah. That could work out for
Especially to
ya.
the flower. We're like,
Right.
yeah, huff it, smell it. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, the flower. Oh, yeah. You're making me feel very good, she murmured. You are. You're utterly adorable, worshipful. You make me sound like a mayor. She laughed and added as he had misinterpreted, Lord Mayor, Lady Mayor, anyway. He continued to caress her waist, stomach, and her thighs, occasionally stooping to slip his tongue between her labia, searching upward for her clit. At least he sensed a response there, a tiny thickening. The other cool thing about reading erotica is that men can learn more about how to do things.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
true. Sharing of knowledge.
Not just smell the flower, but how to lick it too.
Yeah, how to
lick
go
the
through that,
flower.
how to go through that whole process.
I'm going to say that author was a man. And I only say that because there is a lack of description of the male who's participating. And as a woman listening to that, I'm like, yeah, tell me about that tongue. Like, what color are his eyes? Did he make eye contact with her? What is his, what does his face look like?
Yeah.
What are his hands like? Does he have sexy hands? Like, what's going on? What are his, like, what's going on?
And maybe a little, I mean, it wasn't all genital focused for sure.
Yeah.
And it was enjoyable. What's that book called again?
This is the Mammoth Book of
Mammoth
Book of New Erotica.
Yeah.
So there's two versions of them. There's also one that was published in 2002. I believe this one's from '89.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I mean,
a classic
potentially, and
Yeah.
I don't think erotica ever ages. Do you?
I think some things pretty much stay the same. There's some themes that I think stay the same, and certain things like sometimes like maybe what's okay to say and what's not okay to say kind of changes, and then
right.
But I think
and even some of the erotica that is dated can still be its own like fetish niche.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Have you ever seen the BDSM fetish comics from the 40s and 50s?
No.
BDSM comics.
Yes.
I'm very intrigued.
So BDSM was just starting to surface at the end of World War II when
Betty Page.
When Betty Page started showing up and those kinds of things. And there were a lot of underground comic books that were being published that went right alongside your Pulp Fiction novels. So you have your True Detective back in the day was code for erotica, because it was usually somebody being adulterous or slutty or some kind of infidelity.
True Detective.
Old True Detective stories.
Okay.
Yeah, because it usually involves sexual oppression was a thing and people needed to express themselves in some way or another. And
so the detectives were like investigating like betrayal and all
sure.
that shit.
I mean, they're sitting outside of shitty hotels waiting for someone to bring their side chick, their side dish, their
side dick,
or their side dick. Yeah, I mean, let's be equal opportunists when it comes to infidelity, as
Hell
it were.
Yeah.
But these BDSM comics were like, you could see these women all dressed up in their latex and their leather and their and the patent leather and the tall stiletto boots and wrapping up and tying up their subs way back in the day. Yeah. Look up old BDSM comic books. It's
fun.
quite a thing. And that's a whole
That's
form
fun.
of erotica. Yeah, it's super fun. There's a whole form of erotica. And it can go both ways. Either the woman can be trapped or you can have these dominant women that entrap these men, these what were those farmer the migrant workers that were rolling around in anywhere between the 30s. And just as you were saying that it's different things that come into different kinds of vogue depending on what's happening with in the culture of the time.
So true. Like some of the dirtiest porn I ever saw was once me and Stuart, my ex, we went to whatever it was called, Videorama. In
I remember that place.
When you actually got like VHSs and stuff like that.
Oh, the blue cover? There were the blue cases?
Yeah. And I just, it looked really cute. It said like, like Victorian, erotic movies, something like that. And so I was like, oh, well, this will probably be cute. It'll probably be like, a lady's showing her ankle. I mean, was really expecting that. And then, we put in the VHS. That's how old I am. And holy fucking shit.
The Victorians,
I literally
man? So that underground is so deep. Keep
my
going.
God. Yeah. And so but all of a sudden, so we're watching it and I was like, oh my God, I had to draw like the curtains and everything because I was like, there was like a nun being eaten out by a German shepherd with a priest fucking her. And I was just like, holy crap. I was really underestimating their depth
I
of
thought
perversity.
German dungeon porn was bad.
Oh my god, that's so funny because I was going to
What?
say the weirdest one I ever watched was a German one, and I swear I think it was called Peace and Sperma auf der Glatzen, which
And you
think-
remember that? I love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I think might mean something like piss and sperm on your tits.
I remember
Uh-huh.
the cover to
Mhm.
that movie.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I think Jay, your ex-husband, showed it to me when we were walking around in Germany, and it was like this lady dressed like a nurse, and there was an ass bent over her shoulder. She had her whole fist up his ass, and there was like on her tits, little,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, her boobies were mit Schlagsene
yeah, yeah.
with cream, you know, short
Yeah,
chowder.
that's where you sort out all the consent ahead of time. Because when you've
Yeah.
got a fist up
Totally.
your ass, you're like, no, that shit's not going to
It's
fly.
too late
Yeah.
once,
It's-
once you
once-
get to about there.
Once you get past that ulna,
Right.
it's just a little bit different.
It's all fun and games till
Oh,
there's a fist
man.
up your ass.
So you get past the ulna.
Mhm. Boom.
Ooh.
Oh my
Aye.
God, yes.
Ay vey.
Oh,
More stories, Tito. More stories, Uncle
okie-dokies.
Tito.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Want
we're
a
almost
little bit
ready for
more?
bed.
really dirty one.
Mm.
Yeah.
Get really yuck.
Yeah.
My breath caught as you pulled off the tie that had been hanging loose from your shirt collar and wrapped it around my wrist. Oh? I raised an eyebrow in interest. You knotted it around that wrist. I wondered why you were still dressed up from work when I got here. You placed a fingertip to my lips and then followed it with your mouth. So this is an interesting situation.
Yeah.
It's a female first person. It's a first person
Yes.
female voice, and
Yeah.
so there's a whole bunch of different ways that you do
Mhm.
narration. And so I run in. This is one of the examples where I
Yeah.
kind of go, oh,
Like, how
do
do
I
read, like,
lighten my
women?
voice? Do I
Yeah.
put on an accent? Because I'm a second bass, and I'm
Right.
using a deep voice. And
Yeah.
so
I say go with it. I like
I'm
it.
gonna go with it,
Yeah,
and just
yeah,
see
yeah.
how that rolls.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Expecting a kiss, I tilted my head, ready. You softly shh against my mouth, reached for my other hand, taking my wineglass from me and leaving it on the end table. I stood there in my living room, wrists bound together in front of me, with a length of silk hanging from them. What a picture I would have made. Clothed and bound, and wrapping my thoughts around submitting to you. In that moment, my eyes have to have been as wide as my mind.
Yes.
Right?
And her legs.
Yeah.
That's hot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's where you took that end of that length in your hand and backed away towards the hallway. I wasn't sure if I wanted to follow you meekly to the bedroom or put up something of a fight.
Mm-hmm.
We'd talked about this. If I followed you, I was agreeing to this. The tension between my bound wrists and the end of the tie that you held was loose. I had as much room to back away at that point as you did.
Mhm. Some psychological stuff happening here.
Bam.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Trust and light bondage. My mind was spinning, reeling at the thought of submission.
Mm-hmm.
This was going to be light, I thought. Right? Right? Standing with my wobbly knees backed against the bed, my heart felt as if it was beating between my legs. I was slightly frozen. I'm never sure how to start, how to get myself into my deepest desires. I hate my timidity in the moments that I later consider to be those most crucial, but then the true crucial moment already passed. I'd followed you down that hallway with my blood rushing past my ears. I wondered how you thought you would pull this off, and you chased that thought away by pulling my bound wrists up around your neck. I started to comment, and then you kissed me. That kiss wasn't the kind of kiss a woman can hold back from. You were suddenly in my mouth, your lips prying against mine and your tongue crashing into my mouth. I had known you to kiss like that, and I always felt swept back, challenged. You kissed me as if asking me to rise to this challenge or give in to your conquering. What should I do? Would I meet you with everything that I could or hold back, bound by my own doubts? I shifted my head a little and kissed back, hard and long. My tongue pushed yours back into your mouth, twirling around and rushing in while you did not expect it. Your answer was your hands on the back of my thighs, pulling up my skirt and resting on my ass, pulling me tight up against your thighs, your chest. I could feel your heart on through your pants. I groaned in your mouth, and you pulled my legs up around you. I hate that feeling of the questions. Am I too heavy? Does he know what he's doing? What if he drops me? How bad will that be? I mean, right? You guys are
Totally.
it's
As
like-
a woman of my scale, I have never been confident with someone picking me up.
Yeah, right.
Claro.
I know, as a massage therapist, I'm always thinking like, "You're gonna put your back out, honey. Careful." I mean,
Sweetie, I'm heavier than I look, okay?
yeah, I always RIP my own boner with my concern and empathy. I know this is just gonna create work for me later.
Are you doing your PC muscle stretch clenches?
That's right.
Lift from your knees, honey, knees.
Yeah. I mean, and that's perfect. So this is a great example
Good, yeah.
of me being in the question of the voice, and then also like y'all's minds. It's just like they're always like there's all this ricocheting going on, even in the midst of that moment, and so
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I was saying last week that I enjoyed about kind of exploring erotic literature a little bit for the first time in all my life is that some of the books give you permission to get out of your own neurotic mind. That sounds much more like my brain, like, you know,
Right.
but I enjoyed the way in some of them it was permission to not have all those concerns, you know, for other people and emotions and the future of your relationship. And
there's this wonderful thing that shows up inside of in good erotica wherein you get to be that those descriptions pull your mind into the scenario, and it gets that much more juicy and present. It's just like
and reading it to me is so much more powerful than like watching that as a scene in a movie, because if it's a scene in a movie, I could look at that woman and I could be like, I don't identify with her, she's too perfect, fuck her, you know, or whatever it is. There's
something about their acting that's a little insincere and authentic, or exactly, they're trying too hard to look porny or whatever instead of,
or the lighting's
raw.
off, or it's like the difference between lighting that happened back in the 80s and 90s and like I mean the sex scenes from Outlander. What?
I haven't watched it.
You haven't?
I need to though.
Oh
I want to
my
see
god,
it so bad.
you gotta check it. So
I haven't either.
You haven't?
No.
Oh my god, just do it. Just
okay.
It's worthy, and the chemistry between those actors, you're like,
oh yes,
yeah, that's some yummy stuff.
Love it.
Speaking of yummy stuff, I'm gonna close with.
Darling,
I want to do a little lead up on this.
Yeah, give us.
And there was a lover that I had, and
someone I know.
No,
okay,
it was juicy, and it was in the moment, and it was fantastic, and we were having just a brilliant time getting to know each other, and it was, and this piece. It's one of the few pieces of erotica that I've done so far, and I've
written it yourself.
I did, and I did it in the moment while we were messaging back and forth.
Oh, cool!
Ooh, how fun.
Dish.
So it was. I think we'd known each other about a week, maybe, and there had been several get to know you sessions.
So this is like new relationship energy stuff happening here.
Way,
this is very powerful shit.
Yeah, this was back around. Oh God, 2000. When was it? 2000 or mid 2000s?
Okay.
And we had just, I think, had a tryst the night before, and we were just kind of checking in.
Nice.
And so the delicate flowers have beautiful scents. So does she. And so she will. Like the deep, wide ocean, she calls to me with the whispers of the waves. Her hair touches my face like a sea breeze, yielding to my cheek. And her eyes, as the glinting sun in a late afternoon, soothes my soul, calms my shoulders, tired from rowing my life ever, ever forward. Her kiss stops me, her gaze steadies my hands. Her warm legs wrap around me, entwining like tropical seaweed, gently undulating, drawing me into her, slowly, as an afternoon wave, in and out, in and out, in and out. Even wetter and warming the cool waters with soul's fire, in and out, strong and soft. She is the water wrapping around me, breathing the hot sun, warmed wind into my mouth. Her damp turns to wet, and the power of her ocean clenches me deep inside her. She breathes and stares through me and grabs me as she rides, her hips on mine, into passion and a wave only she knows. And he can feel her tremble and moan, and catches her eyes again and yet again, and her smile as the morning sun on the water.
Clean up on El Teresa.
Yep.
No, damn.
That's good.
Yep.
Dang, Uncle Tito.
Yeah.
So she
Wow.
wrote back, stunning. Where did that come from? Me.
Yeah, right.
Wow. This came to you just now? Yes. All I had to do was envision myself making love to you. Oh my God, you're incredible. You are my siren, my muse.
I
lovely.
that.
Uncle Tito.
Oh my God, that was sexy. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's great. That's
Damn.
great.
That's kind of warm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
video needs to go on your YouTube channel.
For
All right,
sure,
I will push
yeah.
that one up.
Yeah, the special Dirty Uncle Tito section of your YouTube
There will
channel.
be a wall. Yes.
Good. There
Mhm.
needs to be.
Good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need to have more liberation around this stuff. I
Yeah.
think I say.
Yeah. And for those of us who would like to listen to this while we're driving, or
Right. It
Did
really
you-
helps the
Right.
the
time
hands-free.
back.
Hands-free
like
erotica.
you said,
yeah.
hands-free
I mean,
erotica.
Right. Hands-free
So
driving.
important.
Keep at least one hand on the wheel.
What?
At all
I've
times.
never masturbated in my car before.
I don't know what you're talking about.
about.
Well, Tesla has its auto-driving function. Perhaps
Oh
there was
my
a survey that could be
God.
done. So how many people that own Teslas
Yeah.
rub one out when they're driving or riding in their car?
Yeah.
I bet it would depend on traffic because they're so open in the top. Like any trucker going by would look down in your little like wackadoodle fish bowl and just be like, yeah. Yeah. Not a lot of privacy in those Teslas.
No,
Yeah.
it's true.
So one of the things I'm looking into is to see if, because there's, audiobooks are a huge thing nowadays,
Mhm.
but is there erotica?
There is.
Yeah.
There
A
is.
lot or just some?
If my face seizures is because I'm holding back a sneeze,
Okay.
a face gasm.
That's what good for it. There you go.
Thank you.
Oh, Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, I ended up again as I was preparing for last week, I went on audible.com. I have an account with audible.com that I love. And I was surprised at how much there was. And that's where I was finding myself developing the same sort of frustration that I have, like when I'm looking for, hypnosis for sleep on YouTube,
Mhm.
when there's like
Right.
that sort of, douchey dingle dangle voice going, "Whoa, take a nice deep breath."
Yeah, or
Yeah.
instead
Instead
of
of-
too soft and slow.
Or
I'm
they're
Yeah.
like,
speed it up a little bit.
they're
Yeah.
too much like
Yeah.
hi, if you want to talk to hot, horny girls, call this.
Welcome
You know.
to your new spiritual experience.
Yeah.
Oh. Because
Yeah.
anyone that's been through a significant spiritual experience knows that there's nothing like that.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like,
like
a slap
those-
in the face. It's a it's like a holy shit aha moment. You're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
way, really?
I like
Yeah,
those.
it's like that. It's
I like those for just like sleep hypnosis, like the voices that are talking, like, because if the voice goes up and down too much like this, then I find it like, so does my mind.
I
But
listen,
if like the voice of,
I
you
listened
know,
to an
putting you to
audiobook that
sleep
sounded like
is
a
like this.
newscaster once. I was like,
Oh.
nope, boom.
yeah, me too.
20 seconds
Hate
in, I was
this.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's not,
You are feeling very tired.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there was one I was going to like bring up this Audible book where like, so I went through lots of like, sampling the different erotic books, and just went,
Mm.
nope. nope. But then I found one, and I don't know what it is about like the British and Australian accents. They're just fucking sexy.
Well, I can do a little bit of an English accent.
I've noticed this before about you, Uncle Tito.
I've got 3 different English accents that I can do.
Oh, this one's called Explicit Erotic Sex Stories, Adult Dirty. See, listen to her voice.
What are you doing? Elroy demanded. Olivia answered by taking the head of Elroy's cock in her mouth and slit.
Olivia!
Elroy's
dirty
cock
whore.
in her mouth.
So, a word of warning, however, which is very interesting, and the VO community is in uproar about this, is that there are automated or there's computer voices that sound. That sounded almost like a computer voice. I can't tell.
Right.
But there's the shitty ones that show up on YouTube a lot, and then there's actually. And it doesn't cost anything, or it costs a lot less to do a voiceover like that than it does for the human.
Right.
So just be aware that you could be coming across a computerized voice for certain audiobooks.
Which, if it's good, I don't care.
Yeah, because it's hands-free, baby. It's still hands-free.
It is talking like this. She took the head of her cock into her mouth, and it was good. Yeah.
She choked really well.
Saliva oozed all over her tits. And
I think there's this really neat, there's a really incredible way that just from the work that I've been doing with erotica, there's something freeing about it, because we're always like, "Ooh, sex is dirty. Ooh, sex is like you just said, explicit, dirty, and sexy." And you're like, "Wait a second." At the same time, like the paradox in our culture is that, oh, it's got the heart, right? And at the same time, it's the dirty, dirty.
Yeah.
Like, what are we having to tolerate inside of our own psyches from our own training that messes with your enjoyment of the eroticism?
Right.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Yep. Right.
So read more erotica and you can have more funica.
I have to say, I have to say
and
that
you can get some ideas too.
Yeah,
totally.
Primes the pump.
Yep.
I have to say that it really did a number on my head last week, both heads. Because, I was, again, I'd never really, actually invest. I'm always trying to get stuff done, that I think is more productive in life instead of reproductive. And then when I did that and explored to figure out, what I liked, what I could recommend, and it changed my whole vibrational frequency. I went out into the world after all of that, and I was like, yeah, life is sexy.
Oh, wait. You know what it's like to be me now.
I think maybe I got a little glimmer, a little insight as to know what it's like to be you. Yeah, totally.
What's this?
I'm kind of always just like that.
We've joked around that, since we both became single, we keep becoming single at the same time.
Yep.
We sort of embarked on this journey of being ethical sluts. And I was single first, and then her and her ex got into SPP and partner play and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden I was like, why is my married sister pulling in more D than I am? This is fucked up.
Because I'm looking at the world through
pussy-colored glasses. Yes.
I'm like,
labia rose-tinted glasses. Totally. Yeah. They're scratch and sniff. And so then, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we were sitting in here and I was like, yeah.
Tastes good too.
You corneli ass.
Less filling.
Cornfeely ass.
Cornolio ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, but then I was a couple weeks ago, I was like, yeah, I'm just discovering more and more in my sexual evolution that, embarking on the path of the ethical slut, that I'm just ethical and you're a slut.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's the best, most ethical slut too.
I'm probably not the
inspires
most ethical
me.
slut, actually.
You do good.
Some that are much more ethical than me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Boring.
I'm just not going to say I'm the most ethical slut.
You're the most ethical slut I know.
Oh, thanks, honey.
I know.
Let's contextualize that just a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, you do good.
Wow. I think you should write more.
I think I should write more. Okay.
Absolutely.
Put those out
that's
there.
actually based on direct experience. So I
So you need more experiences, is what you're saying.
Hey,
That
You
would
need inspiration.
I do.
more
Yes, yes.
inspiration. Okay,
Yeah.
I like
Don't
it.
we all need more
Mhm.
inspiration?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
can,
feel free to.
DM them if they're interested.
I was going to say, feel free
Yeah.
to add that maybe yours can be the first submission to the Was That an Orgy coffee table book,
Oh,
you know,
oh,
'cause
okay.
not
or
diggity.
bathroom book or whatever, wherever you can
Bathroom
keep
book
the
or
book, you know.
Bedside
Boudoir book.
headboard
Yeah,
book. Yep.
exactly.
Yeah,
Headboard
get a
book.
loose binding or coil binding so you can hang it over the.
There you
Oh,
go. She has something to
how
read, like when
sweet.
she's getting banged doggy style. You know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, go on. It's better than
I
reading
like
your
the
text.
metaphor of the ocean.
Yeah.
Alexa, play Ocean Song.
Yeah, right. Sounds like the ocean, and it smells like one too. Yeah,
Chicken
yeah,
of the sea.
yeah. You know, we need to come up with like prizes. How are we going to get people to like write in some of their erotic
I'll make a freaking
stories?
T-shirt or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
we're
I
going
can
to
do
come up
that.
with
You
prizes.
got mad
can do that?
skills,
Yes.
yo. I can
Get
make
on it.
T-shirts.
First submission gets
Or
a
mugs.
prize.
I already made those. I love you a whole lot mugs.
Oh yeah! If you
Yeah.
want a "I love you a whole lot" mug,
Oh my God.
then
that's
send us in
awesome.
a submission for our Was That an Orgy story.
Yes, please.
All
about-
right.
All right.
Coming your way, baby.
Super.
No pun intended.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
what's
yeah.
that?
We
Oh my
did it.
goodness, we did it!
We did it.
Uncle Tito,
Awesome.
we
Yay.
did it!
Before
Yay!
we sign off, I do want to say I think that listening to you narrating from a woman's point of view totally works. Like
I
that
think so, too.
that wasn't a barrier for me at all.
Oh, good.
Like as a
Okay.
woman, I was like, yeah, because in the voice inside my mind is
Mhm.
not. It doesn't have necessarily a very feminine. It's just a voice. You know, it's just
not
words.
Not specifically gendered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
not. It's not.
And you
It's
did-
just words in your mind. So
You didn't Minnie Mouse it either.
yeah,
no,
and that was-
no, there's a lot of people that would go, la, 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 la.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the
that's
No.
not my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be like a Monty Python. That'd be hysterical if
I
you
mean, I
did
could
that.
totally
but
pull that off if that
Yeah.
was the texture of the story that would be done. And,
Right.
And cool.
Right.
Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I thought you
Right.
did good too.
Yeah.
I liked
So,
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't take me out of the story. I wasn't like, oh, he needs to stop doing that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
perhaps a little bit of an accent next time I read.
Oh,
Yes.
darling, if you
Yeah.
want me
Yes,
sliding
give it
off
to
the
us.
chair,
Yes,
you know
just
what
a
to
little
do.
bit.
Yes.
Yes, no more leather chairs, darling. Straight up velvet. Yes.
That's
and
right.
Got some corduroy, so that'll leave a mark.
That's right. I know. Someone get us
Yes.
a towel, darling.
Yes.
What's there slug in here? What's all this slime
Mm.
everywhere?
Oh my.
No more snail tracks on the floor, please.
Yes. Is there anything else you want to plug? I mean, a dangerous question, I realize.
Yes,
but-
there's plenty because that will give me more material and inspiration.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, Uncle Tito, I do believe you're single right now, aren't you, darling?
Last I checked.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. You do personal story reading sessions for anyone?
I would be more than happy to do personal
Yes.
yes, yes.
That'd give you more material too.
Hell
Ooh,
yeah.
that would,
Oh,
I would produce
Ew.
material and induce material.
there you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
And remove
Ah.
material.
And remove material. All the material gets lost.
I thought you
Where-
were gonna go for it.
I know. I was like, oh
It's-
my
It's
God.
kind of a new shirt, so I'm gonna get
Right.
a few more wears.
He's down to
before
his ascot. Oh my God.
Holy
Um,
ascot.
my
That's just there to absorb the drool, isn't it?
and the flavor saver for later. Besides,
There you
just my
go.
mustache.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is,
To
I've,
catch
just,
the
I've been growing
drippings.
this out, so it's just getting to the soft stage now.
Nice.
It looks
So-
lovely.
I love that. Yeah.
A
Have you
organized
ever
beard.
sat and been around at brunch on Sunday and seen like couples?
Mm-hmm.
And you ever seen when the
Eggs
guy has
Benedict.
facial hair and she doesn't, but her whole face is red?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I've been that girl so many
Totally.
times.
Oh, that's not where I thought you were gonna go. Like
No.
that's the one drawback of a beard is like I've been with a guy with a beard where it's like, you know, we went out for like Chinese food and then like for the rest of the night, you know, it was just like
Oh,
I could
no.
just taste Chinese food and it's once it's not fresh on your plate, it just gets gross. You know, like all night, like, oh, gross. Old Chinese food makeout session.
Dude, better than quiche
Yeah.
in your beard. Whatever.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Oh,
my
man.
wonton.
So voiced by Tito on YouTube,
Yeah.
and I will also be doing also building my website around that and available for bookings and that kind of thing.
Awesome.
Nice.
Different voices,
great.
accents, and such.
And
Mhm.
you're a body worker. Oh, should I not plug that?
Yeah, I'm working on getting away from that.
Okay,
So,
good for
mhm.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Passive income.
Yes.
Yes.
Passive income.
Yeah.
Yes, multiples.
Yes, multiple streams. I
Thanks
love
for
it.
having me on.
It was so much
Awesome.
fun.
Thank you so
Yay.
much.
Let's do this
Tito.
again.
We
Let's
love
do
Uncle
it
Tito. We
again.
love
Yay.
Uncle Tito. Yes.
What was the other topic that we were going to do?
Um,
We'll figure it out. We'll
Oh,
watch
we're
it
out of
again.
time.
Yeah, we're out of
That's
time.
okay.
But and then
We'll
we
do
have
it
to
next
say
time.
that all that other shit too. Like, feel free to subscribe on Patreon so you can help Big Titty Mama here pay for all the lights, camera, and action. Jackson. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. And
This
feel
action
free
don't
to
pay for itself.
write
That's
us
right.
whatever the hell you want to. It was thatandRG@gmail.com.
Yes.
And
Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube.
yeah, so that we can get Google AdSense one
Or
day.
wherever you listen, Twitch, Spotify, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, give us a
all
good
this-
review or don't give us a review at all.
Yeah.
Just kidding. And on that note,
Yeah.
we'll see
See
you
you
next
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Pew, 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 pew. Pew. Are you calling me a cunt? Are you calling me a cunt? Ah. You call it like you see it. Call it like you see it.
Frosty the Blowman was an angry, horny soul with a three-bass pipe and a bloody nose and two pupils like black holes. Frosty the Blowman was as hoy as he could be. All his bitches say he could fuck all day, but the coat was never free. There must have been some magic in that big 8-ball he found. Cause when he sniffed it up his nose, he began to whore around. Frosty would blow a man just to get another fix. He'd fondle their nuts and finger their butts while he deep-throated their dicks. Frosty the Blue Man made his bitch dance on the pool. He would rip men's pockets while she spread her hand while it hypnotizing them with her hole. Frosty the Blue Man knew the heat was on one day, so he said, let's run, better grab my gun and we'll make our getaway. So he mugged some old ladies and stole their Mercedes to get the fuck out of town. But while he was getting some highway head, he heard that siren sound. The Frosty did blow man with the police on his tail. In the high-speed chasing just in the face, and they threw his ass in jail. Humpity-pump, look at Frosty Blue. Humpity-pump, humpity-pump, will do anything for blue.